shoot a black woman in Springfield, Illinois, Sonia Massey, 3 times in the face for holding a pot of water on the ground. I didn't know that. You know, being black in America, we have to always be prepared for the unexpected. Being black in America, we have to always be prepared for the worst. Being black in America, unfortunately, also comes with the fact that because we are so disorganized as a race, we often have to accept less than what we are entitled to because we choose not to fight together. So much is going on the internet right now about the election. We got about 3.5 months until November the 5th, and so much conversation. A lot of American Africans are saying we should vote for Donald Trump because at least he's speaking to the economic issues of black America, whereas the Democrats have been completely silent. Some folks are saying we gotta vote for the Democrats because Trump is a monster. And I kind of disagree with all of the above, because who you vote for is not as important as why you vote and how you vote. What do I mean by that? You're supposed to have a reason for doing anything. You have a reason for going to work. You have a reason for raising your children. You had a reason for coming in here tonight to talk to Dr. Umar. You have a reason for why you pay insurance. You have a reason for why you feed your children healthy food. All human behavior has a reason. The only human behavior I know of that has no reason is black people's voting behavior. At least since Dr. King's assassination. At least since Dr. King's assassination. And let's see how many presidential elections we've had since then. Dr. King died shortly after, 68. So you had 72, you had 76. You had 1980, 84, 88, 92, 96, 2000, 2004, 2008, which was, many of y'all thought, the second coming of Jesus Christ, Barack Obama. He's gone, and as you can see, he brought you nothing at all. And then you had 2012, 2016, 2020, that's 13, and 2024. If my math is correct, forgive me if it isn't. We are 14 presidential elections since the assassination of the good Reverend, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 14 elections later, and black people are still voting for the lesser of the two evils. Think about that for a minute. You are a $2 trillion people. You spend $30 billion on weaves and perms every year. $2 billion on Air Jordans every year. $4 billion on liquor and alcohol every year. $800 million on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork every year. Untold billions on electronics and video games. Per capita, you purchase more Mercedes-Benzes and BMWs than every other group in America, although you have less wealth than every other group in America. In 14 presidential elections since Dr. King, you're still voting for the lesser of the two evils. Is that the only way to go about this? Of course it's not. Voting for the lesser of the two evils, if you believe in such a thing, because for me, evil is evil. It don't come in degrees. Freedom is freedom. It don't come in degrees. Equality is equality. It don't come in degrees. Justice is justice. It don't come in degrees. My beautiful African sisters, is there such thing as being half pregnant?
No, sir. No, sir.
Is there such thing as being half dead? You're either alive or you're deceased. Certain things don't come in degrees, and freedom is one of them. Evil is one of them. Righteousness is one of them. The reason we're stuck voting for the lesser of the two evils, Columbia, South Carolina, is black people haven't made up our minds. We have not made up our minds to use our money and our political power as a weapon for our liberation. And let me be clear, most of you in here, most of us in America, 50 million American Africans are politically apathetic. You don't study politics. You don't get involved in politics. You have no interest in politics. I don't just mean the electoral politics. That's popular politics. I'm talking about everyday politics, the politics of liberation. The ways and means of achieving liberation, that's a political discourse. And do you know why we're so apathetic about who wins? We're so apathetic about who takes advantage of the black vote. We're so apathetic about who becomes the governor of South Carolina, the mayor of Columbia, the mayor of Charleston, the mayor of Goose Creek, Greenville, the mayor of Beaufort. You know why we're so apathetic? It's because slavery convinced you that you will never have control over your human destiny. Slavery made us comfortable having no say-so. 246 years on a plantation of being a thing instead of a person. Once that slavery was over, we continued to behave, think, act, and feel like we were irrelevant. And that plantation irrelevancy, that 2.5 centuries of plantation irrelevancy has seeped into the African psyche. And although we've been off the plantation for 156 years, our political behavior is still that of an irrelevant people. Our economic behavior is still that of an irrelevant people. Our social behavior is still that of an irrelevant people. I mean, let's look at the school system, right? I'm a certified school psychologist. My job is to do what? Evaluate the children for special education. It's my job to decide who's retarded, who's learning disabled, who's autistic, who's emotionally disturbed, who needs special ed for the ADHD, who needs special ed for the conduct disorder, who needs the special ed for the ODD, who needs special ed for the intermittent explosive disorder. And you know what I find in special ed? Black parents, even with your children, even with your babies, you are apathetic. And you often resign yourself to let white people dictate what is in the best interest of your black children. That's why the special ed is out of control. That's why the ADHD rates are out of control. That's why we got all these black boys throughout the state of South Carolina on Ritalin and Adderall and Concerta and Cyclone and Meditate, taking these dangerous drugs. Same drugs that send men to jail on the street. They change the label and give it to your sons in school so they can sit still long enough to be miseducated by racist white females. And you all are just as passive with your children as you are about the politics. So don't say, Dr. Umar, we're not interested because we don't pick the president anyway. You're absolutely right. You don't pick the president. But you could use your numerical strength, your political power, and your economic power to transform the way business is done in America. And the longer you wait to get serious about your liberation, the harder it will be for you to stand when you decide to get up out that chair. Because I don't know if you've been paying attention. Ever since the election of Barack Hussein Obama, black people, every single election since, have been getting pushed further and further down the social ladder in this country. Before Barack Obama, you was the priority minority. They didn't like you, didn't care about you, but every president had to take a position on black folks. Good or bad. Now they don't even have to mention your name. In fact, they've come up with a whole list of words to use to make sure they don't even discuss you. They use words like minority. How do we make black people think we're including them when we're completely looking past them? They use words like minority. They use words like disadvantaged Americans. They use words like people of color. And you say, oh, they talking about me. I'm first. No, they're not talking about you. If they were talking about you, they would have said black like they used to. They don't use the words black and African American no more. They say minorities and people of color. That way they can talk to Asians and Arabs, East Indians and Latinos, not even include you and you think you're a part of the game. Because one of your plantation carryovers is that illusion of inclusion. Black people think they're being thought about when you're not even being mentioned. And my black sisters, I know y'all crazy for Kamala Harris. Y'all can't wait. Go give your sister that vote, your AKA sister. Go ahead. And guess what she gonna do for you? The same thing Barack Obama did for you. Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. I tell you who's gonna eat real good though. Let Vice President Harris end up in that White House. You know who's gonna eat real good? The East Indian immigrant community. By the time she's out the White House, oh, you think they own the Dunkin' Donuts? You think they own the hotel chains now? You think the East Indians are buying up all these American franchises now? Wait till Kamala Harris get done with the White House. Barack Obama put the homosexuals out front. Kamala Harris gonna put the East Indians out front. They will be the #1 minority group in this country if she gets that White House. And it's our fault. I don't even have to demonize her. I don't know if she's half black today or half Indian today, but I don't even have to demonize her. Truth of the matter is, black people, until you start organizing, working together, solidarity is the weakness of the American Negro. It is the one thing you will not do that other people can always take advantage of you because you will not work together. You won't work together in Columbia. You won't work together in Baltimore. You won't work together in Miami. You won't work together in Philadelphia. No! Even with all your Jesus talk, you're still a group of self-hating ex-slaves. Even with all your Muhammad talk, your Hebrew talk, your Moor talk, you still don't work together as a race. All right. But you claim to be saved. If you are saved, how is it possible you can be saved but do nothing to save your people? The contradictions under which we live. Black people refusing to look in the mirror. And then we get around non-black people and think they accept us as an equal. How can they? See, when you come around that Jew or that Anglo-Saxon or that Arab, that East Indian, they're part of a community that works together. Your community don't work together. We have common ancestry, common history, common experience, but we don't have a common destiny because we don't want one. Most black people are not interested in freedom. You're interested in comfort under white supremacy. See, you don't really have a problem with white people running your life because after all, most of you pray to a white Jesus, so you can't have trouble with a white president. If God is white, the president being white is nothing at all. You just want better conditions. I remember when I spoke to some of the Black Power elders, and they talked about how what the government did to neutralize the black liberation struggle. And I don't want to oversimplify it because it's not simple, it's complex as all issues are. But one of the things they talked about was how the government said half these Negroes with their fists in the air don't really want liberation. They just want a job. Half these Negroes with their fists in the air, they don't want liberation, they just want a half-decent place to live. Half these people with a fist in the air, they don't really want liberation, they just want their children to go to a halfway decent school. You got to know yourself. Why are you here? What do you want? Do you only want comfort and convenience, or do you want freedom for all black folks? I'm going to answer the question for you. Most of you want comfort and convenience. You don't want liberation. You know why? Because liberation means you become ultimately responsible for whether you live or die. Liberation means you got to educate your own children. Liberation means you got to build your own homes for your community. Liberation means you got to go into the communities in South Carolina and stop the brothers on the corner from killing each other. Not the police, not the governor of South Carolina, not Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, or Donald Trump. You become the first and the last force in the community. We don't want that. Black people don't want that. You don't want to be thrown in a bush and say, hey, you want to be free, ninja? Go! You don't want that. You want the white man's jobs. You want the white man's neighborhood. You want to eat at the white man's restaurants. You want the white woman to educate your kids. And some of y'all will pay extra money for them to be educated by rich white people. You pay $20,000 and $30,000 a year for private school, a better self-hatred instruction. Do we really want to be free? If somebody asks Joe Biden, you think black people in America really want to be free? You say, hell no. Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, George Bush. Do y'all really think black people in America want to be free? Of course not. I mean, think about it now. We enslaved their ancestors for 250 years, 46. We never paid them no restitution whatsoever. We never took accountability for it. Never said we feel wrong for doing it. We still treat them like dirt, and they will still wake up on the 4th of July and say, I'm proud to be an American. Go ahead. How they gonna respect you like that? My country. Don't even let your ass in the White House. My country. You better not be caught at the governor's mansion by yourself. My country, since when? What exactly about this is yours? And I'm not asking you to hate it, but I'm sure having trouble understanding why you love it. Brothers and sisters, we got 5 major problems in this country. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, neither of them have spoken to either one of them, and I'm willing to bet they will not. They don't have to, because you're not going to organize yourselves to make them do it. Let me say this and be clear. The black vote will only matter if we organize it. We have to vote as a people. We cannot vote as individuals. If you know anything about the science of a democracy, the majority rule. Minorities are victims of the majority in a democracy. And the only way a minority can have their voice heard is to do what? Tie their votes together and vote as a unit so you have a bigger voice. But guess what? Nobody in South Carolina wants you to organize your vote in Columbia. They want you to continue voting as individuals. You know why? As long as you vote as an individual, they never have to take you seriously. As long as you go out here and vote for anybody, state rep, U.S. rep, state senator, U.S. senator, council person, mayor, governor, president, it don't matter. If you're voting by yourself and you have not tied your vote with other black people in South Carolina so you can have a voice, your votes don't mean nothing. Your votes don't mean anything to us. They matter to the elected officials. They need them to win. But they never matter to us because they're not tied together to give us a voice. Don't you find it interesting? Your black leadership in South Carolina has never asked you to organize your vote. You don't find that a bit interesting? That your black churches in South Carolina have never asked you to organize your vote. Don't you find it a little interesting that your community-based organizations have never asked you to organize your vote before you actually go vote? Why don't all these black leaders ever try to get y'all to vote together? Why they don't get y'all to come together as a unit and say, let's sit down and meet with the gubernatorial candidates first. Let's sit down and meet with the congressional candidates first. Let's call Kamala Harris and Joe Biden into Columbia and tell them they got to answer some questions, and then we will decide how we're going to vote, because we're voting together. We're voting together. All 500,000 of these black votes is going one place or the other. They will not be torn apart. They will not be splintered. We are voting as a people. Why don't your leaders ever do that? Why has Al Sharpton never done that? Al Sharpton has never told black people to vote together. Jesse Jackson has never told black people to vote together. You know why? If you vote together, you can hold people accountable. And nobody wants black people telling people what to do. So you're the only group who is told to vote by yourself. They don't say come in this room and talk about who we should vote for. They say go out and vote. Exercise your constitutional rights. Because they know if you vote without being part of a unit, you will have no voice in what is done. I read a post on Instagram while I was riding over here. Brother said, Dr. Umar, we got to try to hold them accountable after they get elected. That's the worst strategy in life. You don't hold people accountable after they get in. Once they in, they in. You're supposed to hold them accountable before they get your vote. See, that's the backwards nature of Negro political behavior. We're going to let them get in office after they already won on other people's votes and other people's money, and then we're going to try to hold them accountable. That's why you're not taken seriously. Brothers and sisters, our 5 major problems are miseducation, mass incarceration, gentrification, ethnic cleansing of black folks out of predominantly black neighborhoods, police genocide, as would happen to our sister Sonia Massey. And you know what I find interesting about Sister Sonia's execution? I ain't heard either candidate. This woman took 3 bullets to the face. The video is all over the internet. I haven't heard either candidate. Not the Republican presumptive nominee, not the Democratic presumptive nominee, not Kamala or Donald. Neither one of them have spoken to Sonia Massey's execution. It's the biggest conversation outside of the election. Why are they not talking about it? Why has neither one of them said anything about that sister taking 3 bullets to the face? I'll tell you why they're not going to say nothing.
Go ahead, brother.
The police union. Who are the 2 most powerful unions in America? Police and teachers. This is why the schools will never change, and this is why the police will never stop killing. You know why? Because they are organized. Police are organized. They put millions of dollars behind what? Campaigns. And they put millions of votes to put people in office. Why you think you never see the schools get better in South Carolina? Who has ever run for governor in South Carolina with a promise to change the schools? No damn body. You know why? The teachers union. Those white women are organized. They got money, they got votes, they got political influence. The police are organized. They got money, they got votes, they got political influence. The homosexuals are organized. They got money, they got votes, they got political influence. And because of that, they get things done. They dictate political behavior because they are organized. What's so hard for you to organize? Because you have no faith in yourself and you have no faith in other people who look like you. That's right, most of you have psychologically quit. You have advocated for the freedom struggle, but your ego doesn't allow you to admit that to the rest of us. You ain't fighting for black people. You'll come to the Dr. Umar lecture, sure! You gotta sacrifice nothing to be here. But soon, when you gotta start sacrificing something, you Negroes will drop out. You ain't coming back. No! You're psychologically defeated. Let us stop playing games. I don't care how many trips you take to Africa. I don't care how many times you lock your hair. I don't care how many African weddings you didn't have. I don't care how many Black History Month programs you didn't through. I don't care how many Kwanzaa events you've attended. Let's be honest now. Most of us are psychologically defeated. We are a conquered people. We are a conquered people. Nothing we do says we respect ourselves as a group. And then we always want to scapegoat God for everything. Well, let's leave it up to the Lord. You're the only person blaming God for problems you create. The science of prayer, and I don't care what religion you're in, I'm a Pan-Africanist, so I believe in freedom of religion, as long as your God don't look like your oppressor. And as long as your religion doesn't stop you from organizing with black people who don't believe in it. Because the minute you tell me I can't struggle with other black people unless they are born again Christian or Muslim or a Hebrew or this or that, if you say you can't work with your brothers and sisters because they don't worship the way you do, you just become a religious narcissist, and your religion is the enemy of black folks. We don't suffer for what we believe. Why the hell we keep organizing around it? Nothing wrong with going to church, going to the mosque to pray, but when we talk about political organization, I don't know why we got to keep organizing around religions. Nobody suffers for what they believe in. You suffer because you're African, and you was African before Jesus. You was African before Moses. You was African before Muhammad. And you was African before Abraham. We walked the earth before any of those religions ever created. And now you want to pigeonhole me to something that wasn't created until after God put me here. The religions are younger than African people. So why are African people being strangleholded by religions? And you think being oppressed is a blessing because you're taught that in church by religious leaders who don't want to organize you to fight for power, so they simply tell you to glory in powerlessness. The meek shall inherit the earth. They're not talking about the meek inheriting the earth in the white Jewish synagogues. Ain't no Chinese and Arabs talking about no meek shall inherit the earth. They're trying to get every black penny they can get in South Carolina. But because you don't want to fight to be equal, you don't want to fight for liberty, you engineer your religion to justify your political laziness. All these years of praying and we ain't free yet, either something wrong with you, something wrong with the religion, or something wrong with both of you. And you know what's sad? After 405 years of this crap, our number one strategy to eliminate racism is to still pray white people into humanity. That's our number one strategy, compassion. That's your number one weapon. I'm going to make white people feel bad about what they've been doing as if they don't know what they've been doing. You better understand the 3 rules of racism. And I might be the first and only person to tell them to you. Religious Negroes can't, because religions are all multicultural and colorblind. Damn near everyone. Even the ones that claim not to be multicultural and colorblind, if you listen to them close enough, they making exceptions for certain groups. The first rule of racism. Come on in, family. We got seats up here. You don't have to stand. We do have seats up in the front. You just got to sit up in the front. We do have seats. First rule of racism, South Carolina. First rule of racism. All white people are racist. All Caucasians. The British, the French, the Jew, the Anglo-Saxon, the Italian, the Irish, all Caucasians are racist. They have to be, because they are a numerical minority. And the only way they can dominate being a numerical minority is to exploit everybody else. They cannot practice equality and run the world. They know that. So equality to them is a sin. They believe in domination. White power domination. That's all they do. That's all they do. Now some of y'all say, wait a minute, Dr. Umar, you can't say every white person is a racist. I know some good white folks. You think you know some good white folks. But I do want to say this, I don't believe every white person is a bigot. Don't confuse racism with bigotry. This is a big mistake we make in the black community. We think racism and racial bigotry are the same. They are not. Let me explain the difference to you. A bigot, a white bigot, is emotionally attached to your destruction. You are a N-I-double-G-A to them. You are racially inferior. You're half monkey. You can't do nothing right. You're spiritually deficient. You're psychologically ill. That's the bigot. The bigot has an emotional opinion that black people are less than them and should not exist. That is a bigot. Ku Klux Klan, that is bigotry. But you don't have to be a bigot to be a racist. You don't have to dislike black people to be a racist. You don't have to use the N-word to be a racist. I need y'all to understand me really clear. Political Science 101 here tonight. Racism only means one thing. You don't have to hate black people to be a racist. Racism means one thing, and this is that one thing. I believe, as a Caucasian, that my people should be in absolute, total control of all resources, opportunities, and privileges. That's it. I don't have to kill nobody. I don't have to believe black people inferior. I don't have to believe none of the stuff bigots believe, but I want white people to run Columbia, South Carolina. I want white people to run the banks of Columbia, South Carolina. I want white people to run the schools of Columbia, South Carolina. I want white people to run the criminal justice system of South Carolina. See how this goes? It ain't got nothing to do with hating blacks. But you selfishly want your people to monopolize power. Therefore, Columbia, I don't care if you're sleeping with white people. I don't care if you're hanging with white people. I don't care if you're praying with white people. I don't care if you're marrying white people, making babies with white people. That does not prove that they're not racist. It might prove they're not a bigot, but it does not prove they're not racist, because all Caucasians are racist. Second rule of racism: white people do not share power with blacks. White people do not share power with blacks. I'm gonna take you back 10 years ago, almost 20. Remember when they first started gentrifying our communities? The white people started coming back, buying up, pushing us out, right? Do you know what they did before they started pushing us out? They had a propaganda campaign that said, we're gonna make New York City a community for everybody. We're gonna make Columbia, South Carolina a community for everybody. We're gonna make Baltimore, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles a community for everybody. I knew that was a scam. I said, they're about to take over the black community. People said, Dr. Umar, cut it out with your conspiracy theories. Whenever white people talk about sharing power, what they really mean is we're about to take power. Did y'all hear what I just said? You gotta read through the language of racism. When white people say we're about to share power, that means we're about to take power. And that's exactly what they did. Do you know we have the highest black homelessness rate since Dr. King walked the earth? And do you know why we have the highest black homelessness rate since Dr. King walked the earth? Because of gentrification. 3 strategies: open up charter schools, which give white people legitimate reason to be moving into a black community to educate y'all kids, and y'all love white people teaching y'all kids because y'all want to be accepted by white folks, so you're not going to question them moving in your house, moving in your neighborhood. So charter schools play a big role in gentrification. If you look at the most gentrified black communities in America, they have the largest number of charter schools. I live in the #1 most gentrified city, Philadelphia, #1 in the country. We overtook San Francisco and Seattle a couple years ago. Philadelphia has the most charter schools. Y'all got charter schools in Columbia? Yes, sir. That means you got gentrification in Columbia. Let me show you how this works. This is a section of Columbia over here. White people want to take it back, but it's entrenched with black people. How are we going to get rid of them blacks over there? It's a heavy black community, but we need them out. You know what we're going to do? We're going to find one of these little Negroes and pay them to be the face of the charter school. So black people don't do no research, so you think the charter school is black because the person talking about it is black. And then the white people who really open up the charter school, they're gonna hire all white people to work at the charter school. And these white people gonna move into that black section of Columbia, South Carolina. And black people ain't gonna say nothing about it. You know why? Because Jesus don't see color, so they can come in. See how your religion is used against you as a weakness? Okay? You say Jesus don't see color, but when you read the Bible, Jesus made it very clear that he was sent only to the house of Israel. He wasn't sent to do work for nobody else. Y'all made him a universal phenomenon. Jesus said, my work is with my people and only my people. Y'all turned him into colorblind, but when you read the Bible, Jesus was not colorblind. He was very first a race first renegade. So the white people move into the black community. They start buying up the houses, buying up the lots. You don't say nothing because that's my child's teacher. And then they do what? Push the property value up. Now the property taxes is up. Now grandma, she been retired for 20 years, public school teacher, public servant, and now the property tax is going up so high, grandma can't afford to live there no more, so she forced to sell. And you know what makes it worse? Your black churches, who you give your Jesus money to, guess where they put their money at? In the same white bank that's financing white developers to move you out your neighborhood. Let me say that. You are literally praying to be homeless. Because when you give money to the church in Columbia, the churches take your money to the same bank who's going to take your white Jesus money and give it to white people so they can buy up your neighborhood and push you out of it. Oh yeah. Jesus' money is doing the devil's work. Woo! And then the black pastor tell you, I'm not political. We don't deal with politics, Dr. Umar. We just deal with the Lord. Well, if you so political, pastor, why is your church always the first stop or the last stop for somebody running for a political office? If the black church is not political, why do you allow your pulpit to be exploited by political pimps? If Jesus ain't got nothing to do with who's running for the political office, why do you let the candidates exploit your pulpit? Because pastors are pimps just like politicians. And if you disagree, show me the church in Columbia that's leading the fight for better schools. Show me the church in Columbia. I didn't say coming to the meetings. I didn't say showing up to talk. I didn't say participating in a march. I said aggressively leading and fighting and not taking no money, by the way. Because what a lot of you ninjas do is you get grants from the same people we fighting. You're a hypocrite. Let me just say that right now. If you're taking money from the people we fighting, you are a hypocrite. Period. There's no way around it. When we started renovating the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy in Wilmington, Delaware, people was coming to me, Dr. Umar, we want to help fund the school. I can't take your money. Why? Because you're a politician. I can't take your money. You're going to give me money so I won't criticize you publicly when you screw my people over. I can't do that. I said, there's black people who depend on my political opinion before they make their decisions. I cannot be bought. I didn't come this far in life to be somebody's pet. Some of y'all don't mind being pets as long as you get enough money. I'm not for sale. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? You got to stay free. Listen, if you can't do nothing else, don't compromise your integrity. Too many of us can't fight the good fight because we done already sold out. Some of y'all took money 10, 20 years back, and you can't say nothing for black people no more because you done already sold your soul 10, 20 years ago. Selling out to the Democrats, selling out to the Republicans, selling out to the black pastors, selling out to the Masons, selling out to the fraternity, selling out to the gay secret societies, selling out to this, selling out to that. I ain't sold out to nobody. I ain't no Mason, no Greek, no elk, nothing. I'm black, and that's it. I don't belong to nothing. Why? Because I will not pledge loyalty to anything above black people. Some of y'all got loyalties that supersede your race. So you will sell out waiting to happen because there's something more important to you than your people's freedom. Your fraternity more important than your people's freedom. Your Masonic lodge more important than your people's freedom. Your professional group more important than your people's freedom. Being gay more important than your people's freedom. A lot of you got commitments to certain causes that supersede black liberation. I don't have that problem. Only thing I think about is liberation for black folks. I ain't got no contradictions in my walk. And you know what's funny? When I come across Negroes who got contradictions in their walk, they try to make me feel bad because they not free no more. Dr. Umar, if you go and say that, I might lose my grant. Nigga, you should have never had it. Don't invite me to speak, because what you ain't gonna do is ask me to speak and then think you're gonna script my words. I don't do that. I dance to my own tune. Nobody gonna tell me, oh, we would have bring you in, Dr. Umar, but you be saying stuff that's gonna step on some toe. Nigga, that's my job. Y'all gotta be careful what y'all listen to on the radio when it comes to the political struggle, the presidential race and all the political struggles, because you know the first thing that Republicans and Democrats do is they pay off black media. Did y'all hear what I just said? I don't know how many black talk stations y'all got in South Carolina. I don't know how many hip hop and R&B stations y'all got in South Carolina. I don't know how many gospel stations y'all got in South Carolina. I don't know how many social media influencers y'all have in South Carolina. But I'm gonna tell you right now, Kamala Harris just raised what, $84 million overnight? 81 million. The highest 24-hour campaign raise in presidential history, more than Obama. And guess what she gonna do with some of that money? First thing she gonna do, come right into South Carolina, go to the black bourgeoisies and say, who are your top black stations in this state? We gotta buy them off right now. We don't want them saying nothing about Donald Trump, nothing good, no Trump. We're going to pay them to only push the Democratic agenda. Where your top pastors at? We're going to pay them to only push. This is what they do. So when you listen to the radio, you think you're listening to somebody giving you an unbiased assessment of the political struggle. No, they've been bought. You don't get no unbiased media. These Negroes is bought. I keep getting text messages, somebody talking about something I want to meet with, what's the Kennedy guy that's running as an independent, I think? RFK. They keep calling me, do you want to sit down with RFK? For what? What is RFK trying to do for black folks? Y'all not going to make me I'm not no flunky. I'm not for sale. Keep trying to make me be, they want me to endorse one of these folks. You out of your damn mind. Y'all not loyal to me. John F. Kennedy wasn't loyal to black folks. How many black people had to die and go to jail before he finally sent the military down there to intervene? He didn't care about us. His brother, the Attorney General, was tapping Dr. King's phone while he smiled in his face. Oh, white people care about black folks, and that's your problem. You think there's actually white folks who care about you, so you keep giving them the benefit of the doubt. How silly you are. And then you want to keep on blaming God. Well, you know, God will change. No, God, did God spend $30 million on weave or did you? Did God spend $2 million on Air Jordans or did you? Is God running around wiping these flat booty snow bunnies up or you? Always want to blame God when something go wrong for black folks. We don't take responsibility for nothing. That's the Lord's work. Police killed Sonya Massey, that's the Lord's work. No, it ain't, it's Negro work. Stop blaming God. God that already gave you everything you need to fix your problems, but you don't care enough to do it. Right. Keep on using religion as a crutch for why you don't do better for yourselves. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. And what example are we building for our children? The same old tired example? Black people spending all their money to have fun and begging for what they need from white folks who can't stand them. That don't even make no sense. $2 trillion people begging white people to fix your schools when you can open your own. Do we have a black-owned hospital in South Carolina? And why don't we have a black-owned hospital in South Carolina? The law allowed, Jews got their own hospital. Asians got their own hospital. Some Arabs got their own hospital. You ain't got one. But you got all the weaves, all the perms, all the nails, all the sneakers. You got Negroes with 200 pairs of sneakers in their house. Overgrown children. Black men, we act like overgrown children. I'm collecting sneakers. You damn near 60, collecting sneakers. Overgrown child syndrome. That's what we do. 25 cars. Look at the rappers. These niggas got 25 and 50 cars. Ain't built an institution yet. Children think like that. Children spend their money on pleasure and beg for their necessities. Grown men are supposed to spend their money on necessities and think later about the pleasure. And we gotta stop this black male-female relationship back and forth struggle, because at the end of the day, we need each other. We all we got. Y'all need to stop this. We all we got. When I look at Sonya Massey, 3 bullets to the face, and then I get on YouTube and see black men tearing black women down, what are we doing, fellas? Even if you got a problem with your woman, you don't tell the whole world you don't value her. You don't tell the whole world you don't care about her safety. You don't tell the whole world she don't mean nothing to you. You got black men on the internet telling the whole world, I don't care about my woman. Which means you don't care about your damn mother. And then we want the women to be perfect. If anything wrong with her, she ain't good enough. She better be the right weight, the right shape, the right hairstyle, the right job, the right income. She better not question what I say. Listen, if you want the black woman to treat you like a king, then you gotta stop sending her to work for white men. It is a contradiction for a black man to tell a black woman, honor me and obey me as your king, but you gotta go work for white men in the morning. That's a complete contradiction. Kings don't send their women to go work for other people. So if we're going to be kings all day long, or we just want to be a king when it suits us. I had one brother say, Dr. Umar, black women don't give us the power, how are we going to lead? My ninja. My ninja, my ninja. You don't need to ask black women to give you the power. If you do what you're supposed to do as a man, she will give you the damn power. One thing, if black men did it, black women will be so happy with us. And you know what that is, fellas? Just one thing. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot we need to be doing. But there's just one thing, if we did it, black women would love us to death. Yeah. She would take a deep breath and say, thank you, my brother. You know what that is? Take control for the destiny of black boys in our communities. If we just did that, stop the killing on our own. Make sure they go to school on our own. If they don't have a father or father figure in their life, give them one. Be accountable for them. Make their ass go in a house at curfew, a curfew that we set. If black men would just take responsibility for the raising of the boys, black women would be so happy. We don't even want to do that. I hear Negroes say, I'm not his father, so he's not my responsibility. Good God Almighty. Good God. And you know what's so sad about that? Coming from an African cultural perspective, 3 minutes. I need 10 minutes, Queen Mother. 10 minutes. Thank you. Give Queen Mother a hand. She made this happen, Mama G. The first time I came to Columbia was an invitation by the University of South Carolina to keynote their psychological conference, Black Psychology Conference. That was back in probably 2012. Dawn Staley, my North Philadelphia sister, had just taken over to be the head coach of your Lady Gamecocks. But every visit since then was because of Mama G. So we want to give her that respect and that honor. I had an ADHD moment. Where was I? What was I saying before I got that water from Mama G? Women. Black men who say they don't want to be bothered with a woman with children. That's the most selfish thing I've ever heard. There's chairs all over there, ladies. Just grab one, any one you want. And you know what's crazy about that, y'all? In African culture, the children don't belong to their parents. In African culture, the children belong to the village. True. So for men who want to be treated like kings, to say, I don't want a woman with kids. Is there anything more unmasculine than a man who don't want to take responsibility for the community's children? And black mothers, you got to take some responsibility for this, and I'm going to tell you why. You're talking to a therapist and a psychologist here, so I know what goes on in our homes because I'm in them. The reason black women have to take some responsibility for the way that our men are, the selfishness of black men, is many of our men in the post-Dr. King era, due to mass incarceration, many of our men were raised by mothers, single mothers. And it was you single mothers, some of you, who taught your sons they did not have to respect women. And y'all know I'm right. Because when I speak to young men, they tell me directly, Dr. Umar, my mother told me not to trust none of these BITs. And do you know why black women, some of you, raise your sons not to respect women? Because subconsciously, if your son respects women, he's likely to find one he can get along with and build a family with. And if he gets married, he will no longer have time to entertain your miserable ass. Y'all know I'm right. Women who sabotage their sons out of a decent relationship to make sure he's always available for them. You got men who do it too. Oh, you got black men who sabotage their daughters to make sure she never get a good man. Oh yeah, it goes both ways, but because of the war on black men, It tends to be more of the sisters. You're not worse than the men, ladies. I'm not saying that. It's just that the war against men is way worse. So let me prepare to wrap this up. And then hopefully we got time for a few questions. And this might be the shortest lecture I ever gave, Mama G. I was ready for a whole nother hour of black power. But what I want to do is I want to give y'all my cell number. Take your phone out. My assistant, Sister Shawnette, has copies of my books. Sister Shawnette, do me a favor. Bring me one book if you can. There's 2 boxes. Bring me a book. I just want to show it to the people. Let me tell y'all about my book, but I want to give you my number first. 215-989-9858. Again, 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Gotcha. 9 minutes. This book right here, Black Parent Advocate. If you want to get a copy tonight, Sister Shawnette can get you a copy. I brought 28 of them, 2 boxes, 14 and 14. I got 28. It's 500 pages. This book is broken into 2 parts. I want you to understand it. The first part is letters that parents need to use for the schools. They told you he cannot come back unless you put him on medication. That is absolutely illegal. No public or charter school in America can refuse your child because you chose not to medicate. I got the letter in here that you need to give to school. The next time the school tells you your child can't come back without medication, ask them to put it in writing. They will never put it in writing because every principal in America knows that they have no power to deny a child access to education. The only entity that can deny a child access to education is the local school board. And if it's a charter school, it's the charter school board. I know because I'm a former charter school principal. I cannot expel children. I can only recommend or refer them for expulsion to the board. And your child cannot be expelled from school unless you have had your due process. That is an expulsion hearing where you get to present witnesses, cross-examine the school district's witnesses, and fight for the rights of your child. Don't ever let nobody tell you he can't come back unless you put him on drugs. He can't come back unless you sit with him in class. He can't come back unless he get evaluated for special ed. Nobody can make you do that. And if they try to, all you got to do is reproduce the letter. I got it here. Let's say your child is in special ed, but they're not getting quality service. Your son really is autistic. Your daughter really is emotionally disturbed, and they've been in special ed for 2+ years, and they're learning absolutely nothing. Special ed is a complete waste of time. That means what? That means that South Carolina public school technically has violated your child's right to get a free and appropriate public education. FAPE, don't forget them words. FAPE, free and appropriate public education. That's a legal clause that comes directly out of the federal special ed law. Public law, IDEIA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act, and that says any child in America with a disability has a right to get a free and appropriate public education. And your argument is what? That your child's education is not appropriate. Because if it was, he would be reading by now. If it was, that autistic child should be communicating right now. If it was, that emotionally disturbed child should have some social skills by now. Let me give you another one. What if your child gets evaluated and you don't agree with the conclusion of the evaluation? You have a right to get a second opinion. I need y'all to know this. If they give you a report saying your child is retarded, reading disabled, speech and language, deaf, blind, brain injured, orthopedically impaired, and you don't agree, all you gotta do is write a letter. I got the letter in here. All you gotta do is copy mine. Dear Dr. Schwarzenberger, my son is a 3rd grader at We Hate Black Kids Charter School in Columbia, South Carolina. Your psychologist evaluated my son, said he had a reading disability. I don't agree with you. I believe my son ain't never been taught. He ain't got a reading disability. He has a reading delay because y'all never taught him how to read. 3rd grade, he was suspended every other day. 2nd grade, he had a first-year teacher who could barely read herself. Kindergarten, the teacher went on maternity leave in November. My son had 25 substitutes from November to May. He ain't got a reading disability. Y'all have an instructional disability. So the whole first half of this book is letters. Because most of y'all don't know what to do when the school come at you. So I made it real simple. I gave you all your problems in one book. Second half of the book, I teach you how to read the psychological evaluation, which you need to read. Some of y'all never read your child's special ed eval. Some of y'all signed your kids up for special ed and never read the damn eval. How trifling can you be to put a black boy in special ed and not even read the evaluation that led to the baby? So I teach you how to read the psych eval. I teach you how to read the IEP. Some of y'all don't read the IEP. I teach you how to understand the psychological and the behavioral intervention plan. I have a whole chapter on how to conduct yourself at a school meeting. Because some of y'all don't know how to act or what to say or what to ask when you walk into these schools. Your plantation psychology kicks in and you just start sitting there like a plantation slave, agreeing with everything white folks got to say about your child. Remember, they're your babies forever. The school only happened for a couple years. And if you're homeschooling your children, I got a whole chapter on homeschooling. Because some of y'all not homeschooling nobody. You home fooling the hell around. Listen, if you're not an organized parent, you can't be a homeschooling parent. If your children don't like you, you can't be a homeschooling parent. There's nothing worse for a parent to be trying to homeschool a kid who don't like you. If you're a perfectionistic parent, all you're going to do is destroy your child's self-esteem. If you're a homeschool parent, are you homeschooling for 12 months? Are you homeschooling for 9 months? Are you homeschooling until they graduate high school? Are you only homeschooling for 1 or 2 years? You need to know this because God forbid, if you pull your child out of Columbia Public Schools and you homeschool them for 2 or 3 years and you stick them back in Columbia Public Schools, having taught them nothing, the 2 years they were home, their skill level going to be so low, you're going to have to put them in special ed because you screwed them over. It's one thing to be miseducated by white folks. It's something completely different to be miseducated by your own parents. So I'm going to close. And let me say this. Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey, you all have heard a lot about it. The YouTubian struggle streamers can't keep my name out their mouth. But with that being said, an update for all my supporters and donors. All the repairs have been done to the school. The only thing left is we got to do another coat of paint. And we got 11 floors that need to be covered with carpet and tile. An easy job. I just got to find the right man to do it. Yes. And once we do that, we're applying for our certificate of occupancy. Yes, Yes, and once we get our certificate of occupancy, there will be a grand opening celebration in Wilmington, Delaware. So if you're driving, it's just a 10-hour drive. But if you're flying, you're going to fly into Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Delaware is our backyard. You're going to fly into Philly, and the school is literally 20 minutes drive from the Philadelphia airport. You can take a Uber from the airport, baggage claim to the front door of the school. And I want all y'all to come, but only if you're a donor. If you've never donated to my school, you ain't coming nowhere. So you make sure you got my cell number, you text me for the link to donate. I don't care if you give me $20, but you better donate something to the future of black boys. And once we open up the school in Delaware, I'm going to start putting them everywhere. We need the schools in Columbia, South Carolina. We need them in Chicago, Detroit. We need them in Oakland and Phoenix. We need them in Seattle and Little Rock, Arkansas. I want schools all over the world. For the rest of my life, I'm dedicating myself to the psychological liberation of our next generation, our babies. And I want to put schools everywhere I can. With that, I want to close with this quote. Frederick Douglass, who said, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and deprecate agitation are like men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want the rain but can't stand the thunder or the lightning. They want the ocean, but they're scared of the awful roar of the water." Frederick Douglass said, "A man may not get all he pays for, but we will pay for everything that we get. And if we are ever to become free of the injustices inflicted upon us, we must pay for their removal. We might pay with blood, we might pay with words, we might pay with our life. But he who wants to be free must strike the first blow." Frederick said, "For 20 years, I prayed on my knees to God for freedom. But the good Lord gave me no freedom until I got up off my knees." He said, "If you want respect from white people, why do you look for pity? The man who pities you will never respect you. And the man who respects you has no need for pity." Brothers and sisters, if you work with a special population, if you work with homeless Africans, or you work with domestically abused black women, you work with teenage mothers or chemically addicted people, or you work with our juvenile delinquents, or you work with our returning citizens coming home from jail, any special population in the black community, if you ever need to call on Dr. Umar to come and speak to them, I will come and do it. And I won't charge you. Just let me know, and we can make it happen. All right? I want you to go. Q&A. Yes, sir. Last thing.
Take the mic.
The most honorable Marcus Garvey said, without confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. Without confidence, you have won even before you have started. I say that to say, South Carolina, our destiny as African people in America is not tied up with the Republican Party, nor is it tied up with the Democratic Party, nor is it tied up with black religion, nor is it tied up with black politicians. Our destiny is a divine one, and is tied up with no other entity than supreme consciousness, the Almighty God Himself. Black power. Yeah. I can go to your mom.
I'm sorry.
Well, if they want a book, Sister Charlotte is out there. Y'all can go grab the book.
There's a table set up.
It's a table set up. They are $50. You can use Cash App, Apple Pay, Zelle, Venmo, and PayPal. She has the QR codes, or you can use credit card. She also has the iPad to swipe your credit card. I will sign them at the end, and I will take photos when anybody wants a photo with Dr. Umar. Once we're done the Q&A, just make sure you text me a picture so I can research you and see if you're Asian. Okay, raise your hand if you got a question. There will not be a second round, so you need to raise your hands now. There will not be a second round. Number 1, number 2, brother 3, brother with the baby 4, brother 5. Queen right here is 6. Do we have any other queens before I take any other brothers? That's 6. Sister right there with the glasses, you are 7. Any other queens? Just 2 queens for the night? You are 8. You are 9. Alpha Phi Alpha, you are 10. Don't forget your number. Who's my number 1? Go ahead, Baba. I'm going to repeat the question.
Hey,
Before you ask that question, who's the youngest person in here? First of all, is there a woman expecting a child right now? Is there a woman expecting a child? Nobody's pregnant, you know you're lying. Okay? You got the youngest one? This book is for you, my brother. Free for that baby right there. Okay, number 1, go right ahead.
first of all, I want to thank you for, coming down here. I didn't even know you was coming down here.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm like, I was so ashamed because I was like, you was coming tomorrow. And then, the
You had to
ancestors.
move it back because my grandfather passed. And I had to get back Thursday to take my mama to, thank you, to the grandfather's
Condolences to your father. So, I appreciate you coming here.
Yes, sir.
I know this is my 7th time seeing you.
You be keeping count, huh?
But I have a question because I practice E5.
Yes, sir.
And I just having a little trouble because I almost like to the point that I wanted to give up on it because I've lost friends. I'm always lost friends because I have to explain what I do, and and it's just like you have one of those little Christians that say you don't believe in this because you practice quote unquote witchcraft, as they say.
Right.
So, I almost wanted to give up on it because it's like, I'm not going to help you because I only can help you so much because you're not a Christian. I got to give my life to Christ and stuff. And I'm like, even though I respect the Christians, I have nothing against it because, in Ifa culture, we give all the unconditional love to people who don't believe it, So, praise the Lord tomorrow for that. But I just have a question. So, do I still keep loving and supporting my brothers and sisters who don't believe in and stuff like that, because it's just like, I'm to the point, like, you know what, I love you, brother, I appreciate you, I don't believe in your system, but, I just don't like the hostile religious supremacy, I would call it, to say, I'm like, okay, you don't believe in this way, they give you the, what I call the religious middle finger, I will pray for you, you know what I'm saying? So I call that the religious middle finger. So what should I do? Do I still keep loving them and respecting them, as what Olodumare would do,
Gotcha. 2 points. Number one, yes, we still keep loving them because all African people have been victimized by white supremacy. We've all been victimized through slavery, colonization, and we continue to be thus. So for me, I don't care what religion our people are in. I love all black folks. I see them as family first. Their religion is their business. If they try to make their religion my business, then that's what we call religious narcissism. This belief that the way you pray and who you believe in is the way everybody else in the world should pray. That's insane, and it's also narcissistic. And we do have a lot of religious narcissists in the black community. And I can't work with them because I don't see any religion as better than anyone else. And I don't believe anybody has any business telling anybody how to build a relationship with God, right? So religious narcissists, they are an enemy of the community. Christianity is not, Islam is not, but the religious narcissist is. So with them people, you just gotta excuse them from your company and keep on moving. I give you an example of religious narcissism. I had a supporter of mine. He donated to the school. He said, Dr. Umar, I heard that you're going to be teaching African spirituality and cosmology inside of FDMG. Of course I am. That's one of our curriculum. Our children have to know the way in which their ancestors dealt with God way before the 3 Abrahamic faiths colonized the religion. He said, well, I can't agree with that. I can't have my son learning anything about ancestors and stuff like that. I said, well, he don't have to practice it. He just got to understand it. He said, no way. He won't be able to come. And I said, I think you kindly find another school for him. And what I also said to the brother was, don't you find it interesting that in public school, your child gets homosexual lessons, white supremacy lessons, inferiority lessons, and you left them in there. You had no problem with what they were teaching them. And the minute you hear about your son understanding African spirituality, you want to exempt them from the program. Take your ass back to wherever that child was. We don't need them. Black power. Who's my number 2? Yes, sir.
Y'all can't limit your questions to like 30 seconds because we're limited on time, and I respect this time.
All right. You heard the brother, no speeches. Go ahead, my brother.
So my question is pretty much for our mixed race African friends. How do we approach them about the destruction of interracial relationships when they come from a family where they love their mom, their dad, it's an interracial relationship? How do we approach that without offending them and have them put off to what you're saying because they think, well, my parents got along just fine, interracial is just fine, but it's not. So how would you suggest we approach that?
Well, the thing is, I know plenty of Pan-Africanists and even brothers and sisters who are not Pan-Africanists, who are mixed race, who understand why we don't need to be procreating and dating outside of the community. So not all mixed race people got an issue. You feel me? I know some who don't. You got to remember, Marcus Garvey, the largest black organization of all time, mixed race Africans were considered African and they were members. And they had to understand that Caucasians would not be allowed in this organization. So I don't think we should presume that all mixed race people got an issue with the fact that we don't accept white folks, because a lot of them don't. They're the ones who do. They just gonna have to get over that or keep it pushing. You follow? I was in London keynoting a Pan-Africanist conference in Manchester, England, not London. And there was a mixed race sister there. And she wanted her mother to come into the Pan-African conference. And we said, your mother can't come in, she's Caucasian. And she said, but that's my mother. Yes, and we respect your mother. That's your mother, love your mother. But she's your mother. She's not the mother of this movement. She can't come. And if you have a problem with your white mother not being allowed in this black event, then maybe you should excuse yourself. Not everybody gonna come along with the Freedom Ride. You feel me? Some of us, we're gonna have to leave them by the wayside. The mixed race Africans who identify as African and understand that we don't tolerate Caucasian presence, if they wanna rock with us, they rock with us. The ones who don't, let them go. The worst thing we can do is think we taking everybody with us. You got Negroes in South Carolina who are absolutely, unequivocally in love with Caucasians, and they will kill you if you try to pull them away from their plantation. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You follow me? So we got to go with the ones. And another point that you didn't raise, I'm going to raise it as a caveat to your great question. Black people are hypocrites. You know why I say that when it comes to the mixed race situation? Because we will say, I have no problem with interracial dating. You got black people, you can love who you want to love. Love is blind, right? And then when they produce a mixed race child, you want to reject them from the community. There's nothing more hypocritical than saying you can date who you want, marry who you want, and then when the child get here, you want nothing to do with it. If we don't want the child, how the hell can you support the relationship that brought him here? I work in the opposite. I'm going to accept the child because we always have. They African, but I am not going to support that. And if we want to stop the existence of mixed race Africans, not that anything's wrong with the ones we have, but if we want to stop bringing them in, stop supporting interracial dating. And black mothers, stop telling your sons it's okay to date any kind of woman. Because I'm finding that black women are not telling their sons to be loyal to black women. I've had a black mother tell me, Dr. Umar, I can't tell my son who to love because Jesus don't see color. There y'all go again with that plantation psychosis. Number 3.
And then 1 second, too. The sister right here, she's working with black.
Okay. Appreciate you. All right. Number 3.
Yes, sir. I'm catching hell right now. I'm catching hell because a lot of my female friends are in sororities, and I'm telling them that Carmela is not a black woman. She's Indian, and she's married to a white man. So I'm trying to get, what can you say to me that I could put out there to say, look, I'm not dealing with all this hoopla. This is the bottom line.
Okay. For me, I want to clarify. For me, she may very well be biologically black if her father is Jamaican, right? So she may be biologically black, but she's not psychologically black because she clearly don't identify with us. Now, to answer your question, what can you tell black women? Probably nothing. Because when Negroes are emotionally connected to a personality, they don't deal in reason. When Barack Obama ran, y'all didn't listen to no reason. We didn't listen to no logic. When I was trying to tell people we would be worse off after Obama than before Obama, which came to pass, Negroes say you just jealous. You know what I mean? They wouldn't look at the situation. And we ended up being worse after Obama. And I'm gonna tell you right now, we will be twice as worse after Kamala Harris than we was after Obama. Because black people are so politically uneducated that we think a black person in the White House means black power. We don't know that they're just puppets. We don't get that. We think we're in charge. And because of that, as I said after Obama left office, I never want to see another black president again, and I mean it. I'm not voting for Trump either, because Trump executed 5 black men in his final days of being in the White House. He wants to give police absolute immunity. I don't have a choice. Asking me to choose between 2 forms of oppression is not a choice. Asking me to choose between 2 forms of racism is not a choice. Asking me to choose between 2 forms of bigotry is not a choice. So I don't have a choice. My vote is so important to me, I will not give it unless I have a reason to.
Who's number 4? Hand up. You guys look at me.
All right, 4. The king with the baby. Who's 5? Let's get it back up here. Go right ahead.
How you doing? I'm Makai. I'm from Philly.
All right.
Shout out Philly.
Yes, sir.
I'm here building a family in South Carolina. My question for you is a 27th, the birthday just passed.
Yes, sir.
There's a 27-year-old Gen Zer, and kind of like a baby millennial. I have a question on behalf of them. And I live amongst the black community here, and we kind of are starting to do our own like social fabric thing, door-to-door kind of outreach. And I wanted to know if you could answer the question of how we could start involving ourselves as those younger generations of adults in the political sphere, party, whatever's going on, the political fight, really. Because some of us are hungry but don't know how or what to do to really get heard on that level.
Yes, sir. Well, you have to build black political unions. and you have to organize the black dollar. I want to be very clear. Until we organize the black dollar and weaponize it for our benefit, we're never going to get nothing in this country. We're the only people who do not use their money to advance their liberation struggle. We will vote, march, pray. We do anything except digging our damn pockets. Until black people start weaponizing their money, we won't get anywhere. So a good program or a good agenda item on your list of things to do is to build a black credit union. Right? We need a credit union. If everybody in this room right now put their money in the same holding institution, say credit union, right?
Credit union.
Just in this room, just with the little bit of money we make in this room, we would have enough money to finance an independent entrepreneurial endeavor by everybody in it. We ain't gotta go to Chase Manhattan, we ain't gotta go to Bank of America, we ain't gotta go to Wells Fargo. All we have to do is put our money in the same place until we decide to spend it. But you know what we do? We put our money in the white bank, who weaponizes the black dollar for white power. And they will take your black dollar and give it to white people and empower them over you in your own city. We don't deal enough with the economics. I think we deal too much with social progress and not enough with economic empowerment. Unite them dollars. Decide on an institution that y'all want to build for the people, a relevant one. Schools, banks, hospitals, supermarkets, manufacturing, and distribution. That's the 5-5 that we need that we're not getting.
Yes, sir.
Black power. Number 5.
Hello, my name is Al. I just wanted to say I'm a business guy. I run multiple businesses in my area, and I also work with different nonprofits and black community groups in my area as well. And the thing about it is that when I talk to my main team about finally being that guy to step out in my area, they're afraid because black people who step out to be that leader, that face, get shot. And so it's like, how do you get them over that struggle or that fear?
There is no insurance against danger in freedom struggles. That's why they freedom struggles. If you need insurance against danger or losing your job, don't get in it because there are no guarantees. The only thing you're guaranteed, as the most honorable Marcus Garvey would say, is your own blood, sweat, and tears. There's no insurance about that. And that's why we need to decide or figure out what is everyone at the table willing to sacrifice to advance us. So let's say everybody in here was part of the South Carolina Independence Committee, hypothetically. I need to know what you're willing to sacrifice. Some of y'all may say, Dr. Umar, I want to help, but I ain't trying to sacrifice nothing. I can still use you, but I know I better not put you in nothing important because you will sell me the hell out as fast as I can do it, right? But I can still use you. Somebody else say, I'm willing to lose my job, but I ain't willing to lose my life. I can give you a little bit more responsibility, but I'm still not going to give you the most dangerous work, right? And then one or two of you say, Dr. Umar, I'm willing to die for the people, and really mean it. You're the ones I know I can give anything to because you'll never betray the struggle. The big mistake we make is we need everybody at the same level of commitment. You'll never get that with Negroes. We have too many competing interests in our lives. We just need to find out what you're willing to sacrifice, and once I know your level of commitment, I know where to properly assign you so you can never undermine the struggle. Y'all follow me? Yeah. But we got to be honest though, because we love to stand up and act like we the next savior, willing to die. You know damn well you don't even want to lose your new sneakers you just bought. So stop lying. We got to identify people and assign them to the right place. Everybody can participate, but not at the same level.
Right.
What did Huey P. Newton say? The great Huey P. Newton said, information is disseminated on a need-to-know basis. You will only know what you need to know. And that's it. Black power. Who my 6? Queen.
Hi, Dr. Umar. Monique. You kind of answered this question early on. My original question was, what is your stance on those who think it is necessary for us to vote? I know you're saying that we were picking the lesser of the evils, but for someone like me as an educator, you know, I hope and pray that one day I can check my federal Department of Education account and my balance from the student loan system right up to zero, right? So there's parts of me that feel like it's still important to vote. But again, like you say, if you really know your political knowledge and what's going on behind these walls, you know that they're not for us. what do you say to people who still wanna go out and make a conscious, educated vote, based on those who it can have some type of impact on, such as educators, public service workers, et cetera, et cetera?
A Negro who is psychologically enslaved to the Democratic Party plantation is just that. I can't do nothing for him. You got black people who will swear by voting alone with no organization with the rest of the community and think they're going to get something out of it. We've been doing that and ain't got nothing out of it yet. We ain't benefited from none of these 14 elections since Dr. King's assassination. And we ain't going to, because we disorganized. The Negroes who feel like they just gotta vote anyway, even though it's gonna do nothing for us, they just gotta do it, let them do it. Because it ain't hurt. It's not hurting us for them to vote. It's hurting us to not be organized when we vote. So you voting is not causing any problems, but it's not helping us either. It'll only benefit us when we change the votes together. So even like you say, the presidents are gonna decide a lot of very important things, right? Presidents make decisions